So before I get into the actual video, guys, I just want to apologize in advance if I get a little bit passionate or worked up, because I swear I'm not trying to offend anyone or upset anyone. There are just a couple of things I want to get off my chest with regards to Fallout 4. I sort of wanted to do a follow-up video to that is Fallout 4 bad video that I did before, because there are a couple of things that I said in that video that I sort of wanted to take back and apologize for. I mean, the main point of that video I think still stands, but there are a couple of things I wanted to remark with regards to that. And also, I was recently watching an updated review of Fallout 4 from a YouTuber who I really respect named MrMattyPlays, and I sort of wanted to respond to a couple of points that he made in that video. So I guess that in a nutshell is sort of the purpose of this video. First things first, let's go ahead and briefly talk about that is Fallout 4 bad video that I put out recently. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll leave a link down below in the description so you can check it out. But nonetheless, I said something a little bit inaccurate in that video. What I said was I felt like Fallout 3 had more side quests than Fallout 4, but that's actually false. Fallout 4 has 34 side quests, while Fallout 3 only has 17, so I was completely off on that, so my bad for that, guys. I guess I just generally felt like Fallout 3 side quests were deeper. I really feel like for the most part, a lot of the side quests of Fallout 4 are a little bit shallow. But more importantly, looking back on it in that video, like, damn, I was so negative. I was so negative on the game. I just want to clarify, Fallout 4 is not a bad game. I do not think Fallout 4 is a bad game. I do not think it's a poorly made game or anything like that. And I would even go so far as to say that I love the game, but I guess I was just a little frustrated that it fell short of what I expected by just a little bit. So, after reading some comments and after thinking about the video a little bit, and after thinking about the game a little bit more, I'm prepared to admit that I actually did really enjoy this game, and I sort of want to take back what I said about it being far outclassed by Skyrim, New Vegas, and 3. If you guys will allow me to revise my opinion here, I still definitely would say that I enjoyed Skyrim and New Vegas more than Fallout 4, but I will admit that I probably liked the game just as much as Fallout 3, and I was clearly exaggerating in what I said by it being far outclassed by previous Bethesda games. One of the reasons why I said this is that Fallout 4 really pisses me off, not because the game itself is bad, but because I feel like it could have been so much more, and it could have been so much better. The world of Fallout 4 is amazing. The world of Fallout 4 is, in my opinion, very well done. If Fallout 4 had the same amount of quests and content as, like, say, Skyrim, which obviously is easier said than done, but imagine it did for a second, then I would argue that the game would have lived up to our expectations, because my main problem with the game was a lack of content, a lack of depth in content, and just a lack of content in general, I guess, and if Bethesda had fixed this, then the game would have been so much better. Bethesda came really close, in my opinion, to completely blowing this game out of the water, but there were just a couple of things that they could have done differently, and they didn't, and they ended up holding them back big time, if you ask me. Just to give you guys a quick example of what I mean, look at the voice protagonist. The voice protagonist in itself is not bad. I think they did a good job of the voice acting. I actually enjoyed the voice protagonist in itself, but unfortunately what ended up happening with the voice protagonist is that it sucked up resources and sort of took away from other parts of the game, because think about it, for every single quest that you add into Fallout 4, that's that many more lines of dialogue that the voice actor for the protagonist has to say, and that's resources. That's a ton of resources that Bethesda has to put into the game. So I feel like the voice protagonist, to some extent, sort of indirectly took away from the depth that Bethesda could put into the quests in Fallout 4. In my opinion, the side quests in Fallout 4 were usually shallow, and I think that this is one of the main reasons why. Anyways, the point is, I'm sorry for being overly negative in that video, guys, and I would rather be honest with you than continue to deny the truth and keep saying things like Fallout 4 is bad just to, you know, cover up a mistake. I still stand by those 5 points I made in that video, and I still think that Fallout 4 fell short of the expectations that I had for it and that we as a community had for it as a whole, and Bethesda could have done a couple of things differently to really blow this game out of the water. But nonetheless, I'm sorry for bashing on the game so hard, and I'm sorry for being overly negative in that video. Well, that was like 10 times more long-winded than I wanted it to be, so let's go ahead and start responding directly to that video I mentioned from MrMattyPlays. And the first thing I want to talk about is a point that he made in the video, which, by the way, I'll leave a link to the video down below just for those of you who haven't seen it yet, because it would be very difficult for you guys to understand this conversation without having already watched that video. But nonetheless, the first thing I want to talk about is a point he brought up with regards to peer pressure. He was saying you shouldn't succumb to peer pressure with regards to Fallout 4, and you shouldn't allow others to sway your opinion. I guess I sort of both agree and disagree at the same time with this point. I agree with the fact that you should not start hitting a game or a part of a game if you actually like it because of what others say. For instance, when I was looking into some stuff online with regards to Fallout 4, I saw people saying that the world is poorly made and that the Bethesda did a bad job with the world of Fallout 4. If you ask me, that's complete crap. The world of Fallout 4 is amazing. It's incredibly well done. And if you disagree with me on this, go and wander around in the glowing sea for a couple of hours and then come back and tell me that Bethesda did a bad job with this world. The world of Fallout 4 is amazing. I might even go so far as to say that the world of Fallout 4, the wasteland of Fallout 4, is the best world that Bethesda has made. And maybe that's a bit of a stretch because Bethesda has made some amazing worlds in the past, but it's very well done is all I want to say. And obviously you're entitled to your own opinion if you don't think the world is well done, but in my personal opinion, that opinion is complete crap. So yeah, I agree that peer pressure is a thing, and it's a bad thing, and that you shouldn't let it completely sway you when it comes to Fallout 4. But at the same time, I think looking at others' opinions is necessary, and it's a good thing because it can sort of help you to better understand the problems you have with the game. And to give you guys an example, at some point when I was playing Fallout 4, I was starting to sort of get bored on it, and I wasn't really enjoying it as much as I would have liked, but I couldn't really understand why, and I couldn't really put into words or concretely express why this was happening. But after I looked up some stuff online and some other opinions of other people and some other ideas on the game, I started to realize why I was getting bored, and I feel like it helped me to better understand the problems that I had with Fallout 4. So what I'm trying to say here is that while you should definitely establish your own opinion, playing the game in complete isolation and just not listening to others' opinions at all isn't a good idea. There's a huge difference between succumbing to peer pressure and just refining your own opinion. Alright, next thing, and this is something, to be honest, that I completely disagree with Matty on, and this is actually one of the main reasons why I made this video, because this opinion that I'm about to discuss is something that I think is incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly dangerous and could potentially hurt not just the Fallout franchise, but the Bethesda games as a whole in the long run. So, in his updated review, Matty was comparing Fallout 4 to some games that were legitimately bad, and saying that Fallout 4 was better than these games, so we really shouldn't criticize it to the extent that we are, because it is a good game in itself, and it's better than the average game, I guess you could say. But let me go ahead and give you a metaphor to illustrate my point here. The league average in the NBA is around 12 points per game. If Kevin Durant scores 13 points in a game, should he be happy with that because it's above the average? No, he definitely should not, just as Bethesda shouldn't be happy in creating a game that's better than the average game. Hell, if Durant scores 20 points in a game, which is well above the league average, should he be happy with that? No, not at all. Just in the same way, Bethesda shouldn't be happy with a game that's well above the average game so long as it doesn't meet their standards. This sort of comparison, where you compare Bethesda games to the average game out there, is incredibly dangerous because developers improve their games based on fan feedback, and if we keep comparing Bethesda games to the average game out there, then that's exactly what they're going to become, average games. Comparing Bethesda games to average games is meaningless. We need to compare Bethesda games to previous works by Bethesda, and more importantly, we need to call out Bethesda when they do something wrong, or their games are never going to improve. Now, I will say there's a big difference between constructive criticism and just straight up being an asshole, because there are a lot of people on the internet who aren't giving constructive criticism and are saying stuff like Fallout 4 sucks, it's a horrible game, Bethesda did a horrible job, which is complete crap. That's just straight up false. Fallout 4 is a good game, a great game in itself. But what I am trying to say here is we should point out flaws in a game, and there's a fine line between criticism and just straight up being a dick. Finally, one more thing I want to discuss is a point that Matty made at the end of his updated review video, in which he said, and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, I'd rather them make a Fallout game where they took chances than a Fallout game that stayed grounded in the same creative choices that it's been grounded in for a decade. So the main problem that I have with this, and again, this is a respectful disagreement. I'm sorry to keep saying this, but I just want to reiterate that I'm not trying to directly attack Matty as a person. I'm not trying to directly attack anyone at all. But anyways, the problem I have with this is that I agree that I'd rather them take chances than just release the same game over and over again. If they just gave us Fallout 3 again, then obviously we as gamers would not be satisfied. But the problem is that Bethesda took chances with the wrong things. Like, for instance, the dialogue system in previous Bethesda games has always been something that people loved, I feel, but they decided to change it for whatever reason. And the leveling system is another example of what, in my opinion, was something that they should not have taken a chance with. When you have skills in a game, you have so many more options, and it increases the replay value tenfold. So by eliminating skills and by sort of dumbing down the leveling system, I really just felt like Bethesda decreased the depth of Fallout 4. To give you guys a bit of a contrast, let me give you an example of a good risk that Bethesda took in Fallout 4, and that's the settlement building system. For me personally, it wasn't as big a part of the game as I would have liked, but it was still somewhat enjoyable, and it didn't directly take away from other parts of the game. So when Bethesda tried to implement it, and they took a bit of a risk with it, it didn't really end up hurting them. However, unfortunately, with stuff like the voice protagonist, the dialogue system, the leveling system, and stuff of that nature in Fallout 4, those were risks that did come back and hurt them, unlike the settlement building system. Look, people always say that you can't make a good game without taking risks, and I wholeheartedly agree with that, but they have to be calculated risks. And I really just feel like a lot of the risks taken in Fallout 4 were not calculated risks, they were just, I don't even know what kind of risks they were, to be honest. I guess just overall, I feel like Bethesda took the wrong risks in the wrong areas, and that ended up hurting them. Taking chances with the game is fine and necessary, and I agree with Matty on that, but the way Bethesda went about it was just not the best, if you ask me. Alright, well that is pretty much all I had to say with regards to my response to Mr. Matty in the previous video that I made, and with regards to what Bethesda has done with Fallout 4. I don't really even know what kind of video this is anymore. It was supposed to be a response, but now it's sort of like an apology slash rant slash response slash review. So, nonetheless, I'm sorry if I got a little bit passionate there, guys. I really just feel strongly about this game because I do like it. I like it a lot, and I just feel like it could have been so much more amazing than it was. So, I'm really sorry if I offended anyone in the process, and it was not at all my intention to attack anyone specifically. I did not intend to attack Matty, and I did not intend to call him out anyway. I just sort of wanted to respond to some of the things that he said in his updated review video. Okay, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and end off this video here, folks. As always, if you enjoyed, be sure to drop me a like down below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more Fallout 4 content in the future. The comment question of the day is, if you have seen the updated review video released by Mr. Matty, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Fallout 4 in general? You guys, I guess, already know mine from this and from the Is Fallout 4 Bad video. I feel like it just could have been so much more, and that sort of frustrates me, so those are my thoughts. Otherwise, I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.